So one of my friends sent me this video and I put it right here, and I'm going to summarize exactly what she's asking. She's raising two boys and she's asking what are some things that she should try to instill in her boys to try to turn them into good men. I took my time on this one. He sent it to me a couple days ago because it's difficult for me to come at it from a perspective of a woman. It seems like she is a single mom raising two boys, so I'll do my very best to kind of explain my perspective on it. First, for me, the way I looked at it was I raised a 22-year-old son, and I also have an 18-year-old daughter and have two younger daughters as well. I think the very first way you need to approach this is approach this from a position of being an example. So I try to be an example not only to my son, but also to my daughters. And what I mean by that is, what is an example of a good man that they can look to as an example in me? You should do the same in showing what a good example is of a woman, so your sons can discern what exactly is a good woman in the future, with you being the example. Examples of things that you can do, I think, perhaps as a woman, is never belittle them, always let them know that you love them, and they also need to know that you are not abusive to them, because they will then look toward abusive relationships in a certain dynamic. There's so many young men that you see today that are so broken, and a lot of it might come from their relationship that they had with their mother. I think that gets overlooked very often in some of these conversations that people look to in terms of deciding whether or not how do they raise a son. We live in a very fatherless world right now, unfortunately. The second one is leadership. The leadership aspect is not necessarily being like a tyrant or anything. It's teaching them how to lead. There's a lot of men that do not know how to lead. They just know how to follow. And that leadership comes with challenge. Your two sons will have to challenge each other in this process, and you'll need to teach them and guide them how they both need to lead in a world that will ask them to follow. That might be a little bit more difficult because men sharpen men, so to speak. And I don't want that to be misconstrued as though women are incapable of doing it. I just think that men teach other men the proper way to do certain things, and maybe a mentor would be a good idea to look into. For me, leadership isn't necessarily just being hard-nosed. It's about being a servant to the people that you lead. So teach them how to serve. That's the other portion. It's teach them how to serve. That's the final portion there. If they learn how to serve, they can learn how to lead. Here's what I mean. You should learn how to be self-reliant, how to cook, how to clean, how to take care of a home. In that process, he can then lead on his own once he is a man and is taking the reins of all those domestic things that a person needs to do on a day-to-day basis. There's so many young people today that don't know how to cook, don't know how to clean, don't know how to take care of themselves, simply because they weren't taught them, and they weren't taught with the perspective of, at some point, you need to lead others. You hear that very often from like the provider men type, that all they know how to focus on is, I need to make money, I need to provide a home, but what about everything else? There's so many more aspects to leadership in your home, and if you don't know your home, how do you lead it? If you don't know your kingdom, how are you the king? I think those are a good start. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask, really, for anybody. I don't mind answering them. I don't think my answer is perfect, but those are kind of some of my guiding principles. Good luck.